Hi. In the previous video from the Bearing book, the Watchtower has a summary of Stephen's speeches in 3 parts. The last time we noted that Stephen opens his speech by using the Jewish substitute for the Tetragrammaton, the God of glory. In the whole of Stephen's speech, when he refers to God, one time he says God of glory, 16 times God, one time the Most High, and 5 times Lord. The Watchtower's New World Translation, though, renders the Lord as Jehovah 4 times in those 5 references. The 5th one, with the same Greek word in the interlinear, is translated Lord, and that is because it is beside Jesus. So they correctly render it as the Greek translation renders it. So I'm going to read you their comments about the second period of time they're talking about is the time of Moses. This is covering verses 17 to 43, a summary. So I'm just going to read you parts of the 2 paragraphs in which they talk about that. Stephen thus steadily developed a key theme. God's people repeatedly rejected those whom Jehovah had appointed to lead them. I think we should note that Stephen here recognizes them as God's people. Do Jehovah's Witnesses recognize them as God's people? Then Stephen, it says in the second paragraph, it says, Stephen reminded his audience that Moses had foretold that a prophet like Moses would arise from Israel. Who would that be, and how would he be received? Stephen saved the answer for his conclusion. He made another key point. Moses had learned that any ground can be made holy, as in the case of the ground at the burning bush, where Jehovah had spoken to him. So can worship of Jehovah be limited or confined to a single building, such as the temple in Jerusalem? So I would ask the question, can the worship of Jehovah be confined to a single organization? And we should note that these prophets that are being raised are raised from among Israel. The second part is coverage of the period of the temple and tabernacle. So they're dealing with verses 44 to 50 of Stephen's. And I just wanted to read you one of the paragraphs. They say, later, when Solomon built the temple in Jerusalem, he was inspired to convey a vital lesson in his prayer. As Stephen puts it, and then they quote Acts 7:48, part of it, the Most High does not exist in houses made with hands. Again, note that he uses a substitute for the Tetragrammaton by saying the Most High. The Watchtower continues, Jehovah may make use of a temple to further his purposes, but he is not confined to it. Why then should his worshippers feel that pure worship depends on a building made by human hands? Again the question, what about an organization made by men? They continue, Stephen brought this argument to a powerful conclusion by quoting the book of Isaiah. The heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. What sort of house will you build for me, Jehovah says, or what is the place for my resting? My hand made all these things, did it not? So, of course, the Jehovah here is not in the text of Acts 7, that it would have said Lord. But, again, the question is, can God be contained in an organization? That seems to be the position of the Watchtower, that you have to be part of their organization. So are they containing God? I'm just looking at my notes here so that I get all this covered here. All right. Another question that we can ask. The divine name is not used indiscriminately even in the Old Testament. They have quoted from Isaiah, and they'll say the divine name is there. So one thing that we didn't do as witnesses, or at least I certainly didn't, I didn't take note of the fact that God's name is not used indiscriminately even in the Old Testament. I knew the 7,000 figure for the divine name, but I had not noticed that there are places where it is completely absent, some books completely absent, or relatively absent in certain sections. Why? Why is there places like that in the Bible? Something I would never have asked as a witness. So I'm going to link to a video we did. It's part 3 of a series we were doing in Daniel. It's witness, yes, but not to Jehovah, or YHWH, Yahweh. What does Yahweh, Jehovah mean? Why is it not found in Genesis 1? So that's a second video that I've put in here. And why is it not known until Exodus? So I'll put those as links.